This video is about why we stress certain words in a sentence. So I'm going to use a simple story and it goes something like this. Quarantine is driving me nuts. Stuck in my house for not just weeks but months. I've done everything to keep sane, but I can't help think if I'm really losing my mind. I could have said that slightly differently, but I've chosen to emphasize certain words. Nuts, weeks, everything a little bit, and then really. So essentially 3 or 4 words I've chosen to emphasize in these 3 sentences. But why have I chosen those words? So let's look at it closely. Quarantine is driving me nuts. If you think about the meaning behind the sentence, quarantine, it's not really an expressive word. It's just, a subject if you like. Driving me nuts. Okay, so driving has got some sense of movement, like driving a car. It's having an impact on me. It's doing something to me. But the result of that is it's driving me crazy, driving me nuts. So I could have said quarantine is driving me nuts. Okay, not really any emphasis, just a normal sentence. But now we're trying to really emphasize the meaning, what impact this is having on us personally. So it's kind of putting across emotion, and so that's why we look for that emphasis on, as I say, I've chosen the word nuts. I could have said it maybe, quarantine is driving me nuts. Yeah, I don't really like it so much, or quarantine is driving me nuts. But for me, that doesn't feel like the best way to say it. So that's why I've said quarantine is driving me nuts. And sometimes you might even lower the volume, if you like, and just to come to that more kind of subtle way of saying the word. So quarantine is driving me nuts. So all sorts of different ways of saying it, but as I say, I've decided to use nuts as that emphasis word. Next sentence, stuck in my house for not just weeks, but months. Why did I choose weeks? Well, actually, weeks, just to say weeks normally, it's difficult to say weeks without any emphasis. Weeks. I think that E sound has a kind of strong tone to it. So if I said stuck in my house for not just weeks but months, okay, that could be another way of saying it. Or stuck in my house not just weeks but months. No, I don't like the sound of it. So I guess I'm going with more of how this sounds rather than particular words, but it's got some meaning behind it, because actually I've been stuck in my house for months, which is more crazy than weeks, but I've used weeks to emphasize what's going on here. And now to the last sentence here. I've done everything to keep sane, but can't help think if I'm really losing my mind. So I've gone for really, because really to me is, okay, I could have just said I'm losing my mind. I can't help think if I'm losing my mind, but for some reason, I don't know if it's a British thing or whatever it is, but really just as a word that it seems to express something. It's not just such and such, but really bad or really gone crazy. So that to me seems like the word that really brings out the emphasis. Maybe it's an action word. Of course, everything as well. I feel there's a bit of emphasis on that word. It's not just I've done everything to keep sane, but I've done everything to keep sane, but I can't help think if I'm really losing my mind. You can play around with this a little bit to try different words of emphasis, but usually what I feel is that you've got one particular word in a sentence which really sticks out. Be aware of that. Sometimes you might have 2 in a particularly long sentence, but just be careful not to be expressing too many words, because then obviously the ones that you're expressing or emphasizing will not stand out.